Greetings and good evening. My name is Nancy Victor Green, and I am the president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Manhattan Chapter, Incorporated. On behalf of our board of directors and members, I welcome you to our program tonight, Making Money Moves, Why It's Time to Invest, and How to Get Started. I want to thank Trident Women for being tonight's program sponsor. Briefly, I want to tell you about the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Incorporated, and our National Systemomics Initiative. NCBW is a 40-year-old advocacy organization whose vision is the Black women and girls will live in the world where socioeconomic inequity does not exist. We advocate on behalf of Black women and girls to promote leadership development and gender equity in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. The Manhattan chapter was chartered in December of 1992, and we are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. Systemomics is an NCBW economic empowerment initiative. The goals of the initiative are to deliberately advocate for ourselves first and then others, embrace financial security and generational wealth, provide information to make better financial decisions, share the knowledge with other sisters, add economic strength to the Black community, and reduce stress and improve our health. Prepare us for future today. Tonight's program is the kickoff to our Systemomics series, and we felt strongly that we wanted to arm you with the knowledge and insight to grow your money through investing. Tonight we have two phenomenal sisters that will be presenting. Bahia Shabazz and Monisha Riley. I'd like to briefly give you a little bit of background. Bahia Shabazz is an investment strategist, business economist, and author who helps the community invest through wealth building to close the equity gap. Through a financial and economic background, she advises on how to break down numbers to build for-profit through planning, investing, and positive economic growth. Ms. Shabazz is the owner of Desmolectics, I think I messed that up, Desmolectics, and Brown Girls Do Invest. She is also an economics professor at Ivy Tech College. Our second presenter tonight is Monisha Riley. She is a military veteran wife, adoptive mother. She is also a state and federally registered financial advisor for Trident. Monisha is the Senior Financial Advisor and CEO of Affinity Advisory Group, a team practice of Trident based out of the Metro Detroit area of Michigan. She has worked hard within the financial services industry for 14 years. She holds a BA in Healthcare Administration and graduated with honors. She is licensed to provide services in various states, and her areas of expertise include investment planning, risk management, financial guidance to help structure a plan for your unique financial goals, tax-efficient strategies, retirement planning. And she's also actively involved in her community through a variety of avenues. I'm so happy to have these two dynamic sisters here with us tonight. Now I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening. Kimberly Clark is the chair of our Economic Empowerment Committee. She is the engagement leader with Trident Financial, where she works throughout New York City to improve financial literacy from children to adults. She is a graduate of Spelman College and holds an MBA from Clark Atlanta University. She is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and a member of the United Order of the Tents, the oldest women's organization, which dates back to the Underground Railroad. Kim lives in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and is a proud native New Yorker. I proudly turn our program over to Kimberly Clark.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Again, I am Kimberly Clark. I am very pleased to be here and see not familiar faces, but definitely familiar names. So thank you for taking your time out this evening to join us for what I hope will be a power-packed evening of wonderful information. We chose to do this particular event, Making Money Moves, Why It's Time to Invest and How to Get Started, because this time of year is like, we're always kind of excited about what's ahead, right? So the vision boards are being created, goals are being set, and this part of this new year, new me, always inevitably involves getting our financial acts in order. So this distinguished panel that we have tonight is here to discuss basic investing, but I hope this will be the first in many, many events where we will discuss investing to get more women of color involved. My personal investing story just started about 3 years ago, right? So after news hits of, people way younger than even I am, because I am young, just kidding. But news began to hit that young people were making tons of money. And so I kind of felt like I missed the boat in a lot of ways when it came to investing in Facebook and Amazon. And then they blew up in a very short period of time and made lots of people very wealthy. But I think what kept me from it inherently was that I kind of always believed that investing was for the wealthy, that only the wealthy had the money to invest. So I steered clear of it. But now I'm investing in the stock market with a great deal of ease. And I'm here to tell you ladies that, or men, if I can do it, you most certainly can too. So investing in the stock market, in terms of clearing out that myth, it is no longer for just the wealthy. There are tons of platforms, right, that are there with whatever amount of money you have the ability to invest. Secondly, know that there are tons of communities and platforms that are available that support Black women investing. And like Brown Girls Do Invest, which Bahia will tell us a little bit about, they're popping up all over the place to teach us everything that you need to know to be able to pull the trigger, if you will, to begin to invest. So why don't we go ahead and get started? We're going to keep this format pretty conversational. And at the end of this event, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. So I'm going to get started with just a general question. As a community, what are some of the inherent and historical reasons why women, Black women, are just taking a seat at the table? The New York Stock Exchange made its first trade in 1792, okay, a long time ago. Why, Bahia, would you think that we're just coming to the table and starting to learn about investing now more than ever before?
I'm going to tell you, Kim, thank you for the introduction as well as question. For one, there has always been a misconception that we have to earn quite a bit of money in order to invest, when that is not the case at all. And for us as Black women, we're so used to taking care of other people that we neglect ourselves as well as our needs and what we need to do to move forward. And it's unfortunate that and I am generalizing, that a lot of people in our community, my family included, did not have those conversations on how to invest in the stock market. We had conversations on how to make ends meet, how to get that ideal job, how to save, how to budget, how to basically take care of your family. But we never did, not many of us had a conversation on how to invest in the stock market, what it consists of, learning the terminology, as well as being comfortable and confident enough to sit in front of an advisor to discuss that. And that's one of the reasons why why Brown Girls Do Invest started. But for me, to answer that question, it's also lack of knowledge. We don't know what we do not know. Which is why it's very important to have organizations like yourself and surrounding yourself with others who may know, so that we can hold each other by the hand and pull each other forward.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're
Now,
welcome.
this question is for Bahia and Monisha. Bahia, I'll continue with you, but talk to us about the benefits of investing.
My goodness, there's so many. I'm about to get excited. There's so many benefits to investing, more than what people really realize. My question to you is why not?
Mhm.
There are quite a few things that I can list off. And I'm going to also provide you a few cons as well, because I can't just talk about the benefits without addressing the cons. But some of the benefits that we need to talk about is the growth in the economy. We have to talk about how the stock market itself can deliver generous returns that invest to investors over time. And think about what's happened historically. I don't care if we take from the Great Depression up until now, we take 10-year span. And this is I'm a former financial advisor. Just to give you some more history, I'm finishing up my doctorate in finance. From Yale University. I have certificates in global financial crisis, behavior economics. Love what I do, breaking down these numbers and talking about how our history is affecting us right now, as well as addressing the pros, right, of investing in the stock market. So we're taking a certain time period, a group of years at a time, historically investing in the stock market has offered several benefits, including earned dividends, right? A lot of us look for stocks that may possibly provide dividends so that we can generate another source of income. We always talk about 7 streams of income, and dividends is one of them, as well as talking about the benefits of investing in the stock market, how it's annualized a return of 10%. Now, don't get me wrong, every year is not 10%. I'm talking on average, right? So when we talk about the benefits of investing in the stock market, not only is it increasing your potential income, but also affecting the growth of the economy as well. So what does that mean? That means that economic growth, and so we were saying economic growth creates jobs, which creates income, which also creates sales, right? And this drives revenues into companies. And I always, as studying economics and teaching economics as well, try to combine the two, because some people may say, what does that have to do with anything? Well, if you are an investor, particularly long-term investing, you may do something that we call fundamental analysis rather. And with the fundamental analysis, what we do is we research companies, right? As investors yourself, you do not, or you should not invest in any company that you are not aware of. So you're researching a company of what it consists of. You're looking at the revenue. You're looking at the income statement, the balance sheet. You're looking at all of that. You're looking at the leadership. So we're talking about if there are more sales within that company, revenue is generating, which will entice investors like ourselves to go ahead and also possibly buy shares of stock within that company. Another benefit, thinking about ways to stay ahead of inflation. I cannot emphasize enough how we can do that. Right now, currently, we are at 7%, which is the highest over the past 30 years. It's the highest since it's been 30 years. And a lot of people, especially in our community, have been taught to hold on to that money, put it in a jar, put it in, and put it between your blanket, or make sure it's safe so that you do not lose anything, put it into a savings account. When in reality, we're not keeping up with inflation. So we need to make sure that we are researching as well as investing and things that is going to keep up as well as exceed that inflation. So, and lastly, it's whether you believe it or not, it's easy to buy and sell stocks. It really is. It really is easy to buy, even if you are going to hold it temporarily, right? And then before the next guest answer her question, I'm just going to give you 3 cons that a lot of people that I want you to think about. I want you to think about how people always say, I'm going to risk losing all my money. You risk losing all your money if you're not diversified. Also, a con is if you do not take the time to research, as well as having those emotional up and downs. And we all know how it feels if we lose $2, let alone $200, right? Which is why Two things I want you ladies to write down as you are talking about the pros. I need you to write down risk tolerance and risk capacity. When you are thinking about what type of investor you are, you want to take risk tolerance questionnaire, and I'm pretty sure the financial advisor is going to say that as well, because that's going to allow you to dictate. And when you either, if you're investing on your own, as well as in front of a financial advisor like the other panelists, you're going to need to know if you are conservative, moderate, aggressive, moderate, or if you are balanced. You need to know that. And that is part of your risk tolerance, because that would dictate how the percentage of shares, percentage of if you are large cap, mid cap, small cap. And I can later define what all that means too. I have my little theory. I like to break things down in layman's terms, so I can definitely break it down to you, the difference between large, mid, and cap. And then with your risk capacity is very important as well, because that is going to allow you to actually figure out how much you can afford to invest, right? And a lot of us seem to think that you have to earn a lot of money in order to invest. No, you can start out with $0 and invest something as small as $1, $5, $25, $250. But I'm pretty sure we're going to get to that as well.
Okay. And Monisha, same question for you. In terms of what you do as a financial advisor, what are you seeing are some of the benefits of investing as well?
Yeah, I will absolutely underscore everything Bahia just mentioned. Elaborate explanation, which is a big portion of what I like to do with people, because you definitely don't want to have someone leave you with still questions while they're operating in a capacity that they're not fully understanding. So yeah, I would underscore everything that she mentioned. Do your research, talk with someone. If you don't have an advisor, and I know that you're going to get into this, you know, a little bit later, talk with someone that's not your friend. Talk with a professional so that they can help you navigate through these things. Have trusted sources that you've vetted yourself. Research, because if we're just getting to a point where we're actually only am I still on? Yes, okay. If we're actually just getting to a point where we're receiving information from wherever the source is that we're asking, it may not be a fully vetted source. So doing that research, making sure that you're talking with a professional who has the capacity to assist you and to understand what your goals are, right? Where would you like to go? There's always an origin point for everyone. So having all of those things, you know, laid on the table, as well as what our other panelists just mentioned, are super important.
So let's add on to what.
Go ahead. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. And cut me off if you need to, because as you see, I'm loquacious. I'll just keep talking. But to piggyback on what Monisha just said, do not feel compelled to jump on a bandwagon, ladies. What do I mean by that? We hear all the time, especially like with cryptocurrency and things like that, or even other stocks, people say you need to buy it. But then if you ask them why, they cannot even articulate the reason why. You need to make sure that you completely understand, because this is money that you've worked hard for. And so I want to share with you a few sites so that you can read articles about particular stocks. Go to Yahoo Finance, go to Morningstar, go to Business Insider, go to Market Watch. Those are just a few. And that is part of the fundamental analysis that you're going to implement, which is totally different than technical. If you hear someone talk about technical analysis, that means they're looking at the charts, right? We're not looking at the charts. We're reading about the companies and seeing how they are advancing. Are they advancing in technology? What is the board talking about? What is the CEO talking about? How are they navigating through any economic turmoil? So please go to various sites. CNBC is a phenomenal one as well. Go to these sites and read about the companies as opposed to always jumping on the bandwagon. Because one of the things I do share with investors, whether you are novice, intermediate, or expert, investing is not a one-size-shirt-fit-all. What's good for me may not be good for you. So that's why, again, risk assessment, You'd have the risk tolerance and risk capacity, and read about the companies. If you can't break it down in layman's terms, walk away or delay it and put it on your watch list to just follow it.
Okay. Now, Monisha, statistically, it's been shown that women tend to come to the investing table a lot later in life than, say, men do, right? We tend to wait way too long to kind of come to the table. Why is that? Why do you think that is? And how do you tell the younger sisters that are in our audience today to kind of not wait so long? Why do you think that is?
I honestly believe we actually teach, we have a workshop here and it's called Women in Money. And essentially we outline a few different things that are unique to women, you know, when it comes to investing and money. And oftentimes women are more on the nurturing end of side. So they're looking at conservation as opposed to being more risky and getting themselves the ability to capture the growth. So when Bahia just mentioned that you need to look at the risk tolerance and understand your risk capacity, that's very important because that is going to help you evaluate your timeline, because your risk capacity at the beginning of your timeline, a lot of times is not your risk capacity or your risk tolerance at the end of your timeline. So it's really important to make sure that you understand those things. And I think those are a few of the top reasons why women don't want to invest, or why we see it as something that we should, you know, shy away from or slightly dip our toe into. So that's the first component, right? The risk tolerance component. And then the other aspect of that is oftentimes we earn less. So with us earning less, right, we're not typically paid what our male counterparts are paid. So there's an earnings gap that's there on top of the educational component. I oftentimes communicate with my clients because the educational point is not there. And I believe that I just mentioned that there's just not communication that is given to, you know, when you're growing up or when you're walking through life, right? We're taught how to get a job. We're taught how to work with your payroll provider and set up your 401k plan, but then that's it. We're not taught anymore. So the educational component is really, really, really important. So I think just, you know, we're naturally wanting to conserve what we have. I think inflation was brought up when earlier on the panel. And then when you talk about inflation, if you're not placing yourself in a proper risk tolerances can be anywhere from conservative, moderately conservative, moderate aggressive, and aggressive. So that's 5 tiers. Most of our male counterparts in their early 20s and 30s, they're going to be all the way over here in that moderate aggressive to aggressive. So they're having a long runway where they're capturing double and triple the growth that we're typically capturing, and they're investing more. We often also, as women, we take time off to raise our families. So as we're doing that, there's pauses in our career field, or we go part-time or whatever that may look like. So there's a lot of different reasons why women look at investing and why we're shying away from making the moves that our male counterparts are making. So I typically will make sure that I locate the individual, and in locating them, I just want to understand, what's your background? Tell me how you view money. How is money communicated to you? Help me to understand why you have the scarcity mindset. I work with clients, sometimes they're like, well, my parent was a depression baby and we just hoarded everything. You know, I work with families who say, you know, we grew up in a scarce community. I grew up in a scarce community. We were dependent on government assistance growing up. And that's just something that, as I'm locating people, I want to make sure I have all of these background pieces so I understand what it looks like to start at one location and want to get to another location, but be terrified because you don't have the knowledge and it wasn't modeled out in front of you.
Okay. So let's get down to brass tacks with investing. Talk to me, Bahia, about what's a stock? What's a bond? Like what's the first thing you should do? So say you've got, I don't know, $100, you know, what should you do with that $100? What are we doing?
Don't clutch your pearls. Don't clutch your pearls and put it underneath your mattress, first of all. Well, with the $100, this is what I tell people all the time. First of all, when you think about stocks, if you think about stocks basically is a piece of ownership in a public company, right? What I do encourage everyone, which is especially through Brown Girls Do Invest, they ask questions like, what should I invest in? Why should I invest it? How should I invest it? And when we go through various discussions and travel throughout the United States and talk about various things with our group members, I want people to think about this. If you have $100, first thing I want you to do is write down what are your financial goals and what are your investment goals. And a lot of people do not even think about that. And it's so very important for you to think about what type of goals you have, because those goals are going to dictate how you're going to start investing, right? So when we're talking about having ownership in a company, which is a stock, is so important. So let me give you some definitions when people are thinking about this. We have ownership in companies, stock market. We have mutual funds that we hear about. Basically, it's a pool of money that's collected together, and that can consist of stocks, bonds, money market accounts, and any other assets. You ladies may hear about index funds, right? And index funds basically are mutual funds whose holdings match a particular market index. So you may ask, okay, by here, what is a market index? You're giving us these definitions. I'm gonna give you a few. You have NASDAQ, you have Dow Jones, you have an S&P 500. That's what you're looking at. What I really, really love, and I talk about often, are exchange trade funds, which are ETFs. And trade funds are securities that involves a collections of securities such as stocks that are often tracked in underlying index. What I like about that is whether you decide to go with a financial advisor or you want to invest on your own, it takes the mystery out of trying to handpick different stocks, right? Because now you have this pool of stocks that are working collectively to make sure that they address your financial and investment goals, and is diversified, right? Most are. And I'm gonna tell you why I say most, because yesterday, every month with Brown Girls Do Invest, we take novice investors and we literally go through a 3-day training. They have to create their budget, and that's something you need to do. Create your budget and include an investment contribution, meaning how much are you going to contribute toward your brokerage account, and it should be directly transferred from your checking account into your brokerage platform. It's going to go to your money market account. It's like kids, right? It's just going to sit there until you tell it what to do. So once it's in your money market account, then you go ahead and buy. So we research, and we're going to talk about that today too on this group. About choosing brokerage platforms. We research the platform, we open the platform, and we literally buy ETFs as a group together. It's not an investment club, but I'm here to hold hands in case people have questions. So like yesterday, we purchased Global X Cybersecurity Bug, which is oh, she's typing in everything. Okay, Deshaun, thank you. So I bring that up because most ETFs are diversified, meaning you can have technology, you can have a little bit of pharmaceutical, you can have a little bit of retail, but the one we purchased yesterday was strictly technology, right? The only thing was diversified were the softwares. And one of the reasons why we decided to get into that is because of all the technology which is advancing. So I want you to think about this as you are as you are defining what stocks are, mutual funds, index, and everything, and you have your $100. If you had the opportunity to go shopping with your $100, ask your question, where would you go shopping? And then write down at least 5 places you would patronize, as well as 5 products you would possibly purchase. That's where you're going to start with your $100, because now you're like, okay, as much as I do not like Walmart, the lines are always long. I'm so tired of people arguing about the last item on the shelf, but the lines are always long. Go ahead, maybe have some ownership buying stock. And I'm not saying ownership as in you kick the door down to the CEO and say, you fire, I'm hiring my cousin over here. I'm talking about ownership as in you're getting paid, right? Off of the growth, because as you see, one of the things I said, if the sales are there for the company, the revenue is going to increase, which means you're going to get paid something as an investor. So you think about, if I have $100, where would I spend these $100? Oh, do I need to buy medicine that I neglected to buy at the beginning of the month? Okay, who's the pharmaceutical company that produced that medicine? All right, if I want to get my hair done, if I want to buy products and for my hair, let's see if it's a public traded company. Let me write it down. Right, the stores that you're going to, if you are a Tropicana orange juice drinker, okay, let me write down Tropicana. All right, my significant other has a motorcycle and I don't think it's safe, but it's a Harley Davidson. Let me go ahead and write that down. So seriously, if you have family members, especially the youth, that's always buying gadgets, look over and see what they're buying. I did that with our son. Our son is now 21. When it was like 13, 14 years ago when he started investing, he bought Sony because he loved PlayStation. At that time, Sony was $25 a share. Look at it now. Look at it now. And so I had him go to school at that time. This is before he was homeschooled, his high school years. I had him go to school and I had him look to see what everybody had in his class. And at that time, he didn't have any phones, but he was like, everybody has iPhones and everybody talking about Jordans. So I'm like, okay, write that down, Nike. Okay, write that down, Apple. So you think about where are you going to spend that money, and you hold on to it. Now, if instead of holding on to it, having money burning a hole in your pocket, as our grandparents would say, put that in that money. Once you open your brokerage account, put it in that money market account. So then when you're ready to buy, you can just go ahead and use that money to buy. But that's one of my suggestions when you have $100, is literally making sure you are creating a plan. Because if not, just like disobedient kids and lack of budget, is going to be all over the place. And which is another reason why we say, okay, we get paid on Friday and we're broke by Saturday night. Not always because we do not have enough money, but sometimes we're not managing our money correctly, which is one of the reasons why it's important for you to have financial conversations every week. I don't care if it's with yourself, and I don't care if it's with a significant other. And we started that years ago in our household because, for one, my husband is a baller. When I say baller, he spends money even when he shouldn't even spend money. We just like yin and yang with that. I'm like, dude, why do you have to walk around with $1,000 in your pocket? He's like, because I'm a man. I'm like, no, I'm doing a budget. And then after a while, he said, why are you only budgeting me for $20 in my pocket? Is the mortgage paid? Deborah's laughing. Is the mortgage paid? He's like, yes. Is the cupboard in the fridge full? Yes. Do you have gas in your car? Yes. Did we budget for your weekly haircuts? Yes. Do you have money? Do we have a column for you to go hang out with your friends? Yes. So why do you need $1,000? Everything is accounted for.
Well, let me ask this. So
Sure.
Brown Girls Do Invest represents the investor that's willing to kind of start on their own, right? But with the help and the collective of other Black women. Monisha, on your side, you're a financial advisor, right? So talk to us about the benefits of working with a financial advisor. And is it true that when you work with a financial advisor, you need to come in as a baller? Like, talk to us a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, so the benefits of working with a financial advisor is, if you do have a husband and wife duo, sometimes you get to be the mediator. You get to, as you have someone that's on this end of the spectrum and that end of the spectrum, you can figure out what each person's personality is and their view towards money. Because essentially at the end of the day, this conversation here is helping us to actually put money in its place. Money is a tool, flat out. It's a tool. And we tell it what to do. So at the end of the day, when you have people that come in to sit down to talk with me, the benefits of doing that is we have the husband and wife get to have their own little wins, as I like to say, right? Because oftentimes we have where one individual is winning over the other one, and we can help them to figure out how to collectively move forward together as a couple. If you're an individual and you have, I have a young lady right now, she is an RN, and she's been an RN for 15 years. She's got a lot going on. She's done a lot of different things with regards to her own investment portfolio, but she doesn't know if it's right. We get to help you target to whether it's right towards your goal. So understanding what you currently have going on and making sure that what your goal is at the end of that is actually what you're marching towards. Most times when you actually want to, say you're going on a trip, okay? And I always like to equate financial planning with going on a trip and working with a financial advisor, okay? Say you're going on a trip, you're gonna GPS that trip if you're going by car. You're not going to want to go typically the longest route. You're not going to want to end up on a bunch of dead end roads where you have to turn around. You're not going to want to have to do a lot of course correction. So essentially working with a financial advisor helps you to navigate where you are today and strategically get to where you'd like to be tomorrow. That's going to be on the tax efficient side of things, making sure that we all have to pay taxes at the end of the day, right? My goal is to help you not pay more than your fair share. The IRS looks at taxes in 3 different ways. There are things that you pay taxes on now. So, you know, when you've got an investment that's not tied to your retirement account, you're gonna receive typically a 1099 at the end of the year. You've got to do something with your taxes there, either your, the capital gains, whatever may be affiliated with that. Either you're paying taxes later, which means that you've got a tax deferred account, or you're paying taxes, so to speak, never, right? Which is more on the back end side of where we're looking at Roth IRAs or cash value life insurance vehicles. And we're going to talk about those a little bit more. So essentially, working with a financial advisor helps you to diversify not only your risk tolerance and making sure that you're being strategic there, but then also diversify your taxation when it comes to keeping more of your money and not being double taxed in situations where you just don't know.
Kim, are you trying to say, we can't hear you? You're muted.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So we were going to hold off on Q&As until the end, but I did see an interesting question in here about how do you go about looking for a financial advisor? Like, how do you know they fit the description, right? Because she said that she's had experiences with FAs, financial advisors, who tend to turn her in the direction of insurance or maybe an annuity. So how do you go about selecting an advisor if that's in fact the route you'd like to go?
With regards to selecting an advisor, I would say, do a consult with the individual, do your research, right, on the individual. We talked about research before. Ask those specific questions, are you a fiduciary? A fiduciary is going to give you the ability to, if you're working with someone that's a fiduciary and they have the fiduciary responsibility, their responsibility is to act in your best interest, not just merely sell you a product. And at the end of the day, if that's a conversation that's being had, politely just remove yourself from that conversation. It's not worth your time if they're not going to listen to what you're looking to accomplish. Unfortunately, you do have to kiss a few frogs when you're looking for someone local, but you have to be able to be courageous enough to say, this is my money and I want to work with someone who is going to listen to me and not just peg me into a certain sector because that's the deal of the week or whatever the case may be. So I would just encourage that. Sometimes it's really difficult though, because this is a male dominated industry, right? And oftentimes that male dominated industry can come off as condescending, domineering. And if you've got to be able to have those difficult conversations. I would say also not just look at certain affinities, right? So if you have, because also on the other side of that, anyone can have that perspective, not just the male side. So I don't want to bash our male counterparts. Anyone can have that perspective.
Can I add, with our group, with Brown Girls Do Invest, I always provide 10 questions at least for those who want to, because again, our members are novice, intermediate, and expert. And everyone does not want to invest on their own, and that's okay. You should have a financial advisor if you're not confident to invest on your own. And we do have 10 questions, and I don't know them by heart, I'm sorry. I do provide 10 questions to the investors to ask financial advisors, but more importantly, it's okay to interview. Like Monisha said, you're going to kiss a few frogs, whether you like it or not. And as a former financial advisor, I know on my end how I would step into the room and it was like one of my situations, there was 200 people and my colleague who's from Poland, she was like, oh my goodness, Bahia, there are about 10 women in here. And I'm like, yeah, but how many people look like me? She said, oh my God, you're the only one. So with that being said, you literally are going to have to interview. And it's okay with saying, I'm sorry, your views do not align with mine. I say it all the time. I don't care if it's with my money. I don't care if it's with any other services, because you want to make sure that you sleep well at night, knowing that, as Monisha said, they have that fiduciary responsibility that they're going to meet with you. Now, another thing I say when working with a financial advisor, some people just meet with them once a year. I personally encourage everyone, because when I have my clients, and even now as a private equity fund, we still meet once a quarter with talking to investors so that they can become acclimated to your personality, right? Meaning that they're like, okay, and the stock market dropped 20%. Bahia's gonna call because now she's gonna think she lost all her money. Whatever it is, make sure you start out with at least once a quarter. If you do decide to work with that financial advisor, so that the two of you are able to form a positive relationship, right? And then after that, once you are, buddies, then if you feel more comfortable meeting once a year, then so be it. But please create questions and ask and see how they answer. The worst thing you want is for somebody to just look at you like a commission check. You do not want that.
Mm-mm. And
Now, go ahead. Sorry, Manisha.
okay, I'll say too, I just, you don't want someone to look at you like a commission check. And I will definitely like underscore. It is so important for your financial advisor to know you, right? And to get to know you, to understand, to take notes. I've been working with a client now, and we started pre-COVID, okay? And he's one of my larger clients. He's getting ready for retirement. So I've known him for at least 5 years. So we started pre-COVID. There were some things that I noticed about him, even though I knew him, right? There were some things that I noticed about him during COVID, and there were some things that I noticed about him after COVID. So as we have this season going on of, 2 years, I've seen him be 3 different people. Now we're on another end where he's kind of circling back to being a different individual. I can call those things out, because at the end of the day, sometimes you're not communicating everything that you need to communicate to your advisor, and you're getting on that emotional tailspin, or you're getting on the trend of what's currently going on, but it may not be what you need to do for what your goals are, or maybe it is. So I'm able to call things out to him, and we can further dialogue about that. And I have that rapport with, I strive for that rapport with the majority of my clients. Finance is difficult, so it does take time for people to, open up and share transparently, because, like, you're in their business. When you're working with a financial planning relationship, I want to know all the things, right? I want to be their first phone call when something major happens. If you get a promotion at work, if you decide to retire early, if you pick up a second job, if you have a baby, if you're moving, I want to be one of the first phone calls. You can call your wife, you can call your kids. I should be next, is how I communicate with my clients. And that's basically our relationship in a nutshell, because at the end of the day, I'm preparing these people for whatever their target goal is as they're working with me.
So here's another question. Let's delve in a little bit into cryptocurrency. What is a cryptocurrency, Bahia? What does it do? And do you recommend dipping your toe in that water if you're not familiar with investing?
Let me start with the latter question. If you're not familiar with
Okay.
investing, do not stick your toe in there. Do not test the waters. Don't jump in. Run. It's Jaws is coming. This is why I say that, because a lot of people do not understand cryptocurrency. Am I against cryptocurrency? Absolutely not. Cryptocurrency basically is digital currency. That's all it is. And a lot of people ask, do I believe if it's going to be around for quite some time? Yes, I do. And I'm going to tell you why, especially as you learn more about form of currency in economics. We've had different types of currency from the beginning of time. You had to think about as well, before it was called economics, we had economics, we bartered. Some people still barter services. At one time in our lives, we had where people pay for things with cowrie shells, gold, or whatever it is.
Sugar.
Currency is what you place the value on, which is why now we don't put the value on money based off money is value at its weight in gold. We no longer say that because it's a fiat, F-I-A-T, fiat currency, which means that you basically believe in it. Hence, in God we trust. So as we navigate through society and improve technology, we're thinking about how can we continue to improve currency. So with cryptocurrency, it is a matter of digital currency. The difference is you get to invest in it, unlike the money we have now. You get to invest in it as well as you get to use it to pay for goods and services, right? So when people are thinking about investing in cryptocurrency, now I'm an aggressive investor. I don't care how old I am. I'm at the age where I should be balanced, what have you, but I'm just an aggressive all type, my personality, period.
What does
I
that
live on
mean? What does that mean to be aggressive? Define that. Just taking on
aggressive.
more risk?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Statistically, the older you get, you do not tolerate as much risk. That's not me. I'm a risky person, period. Hence, business owner, do everything else I do. But with cryptocurrency, if you cannot tolerate that risk, that major volatility, cryptocurrency is very volatile, then you're not going to be able to withstand it. I'd like to compare cryptocurrency in real life to how many of you have or have had teenagers? And at one point, at one moment, they're like, I see a couple of heads. Chris is like, yeah. At one moment, they're like, oh my God, Mom, you're the greatest. I love you. The next one, they slamming doors like, all I wanted was this game and you didn't even get it. It's like, oh my goodness, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. That's cryptocurrency, very volatile. If you were to pull up a cryptocurrency right now, I don't care if it's Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum, whatever it is, it's all over the place. So when you chart it, you will see it going up all over the place like a heartbeat. But at the same time, whether it's cryptocurrency or any other stock, you want to look for an upward trend to see if it's worth investing in. So cryptocurrency basically is digital currency. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. Why? Because a lot of millennials and Generation Z love it. So they're going to continue to push it, right? I don't care if Generation X or baby boomers don't buy into it, it's going to be here. And to reiterate again, if you do not understand cryptocurrency, do not jump on the bandwagon and throw your money in there just because somebody said. I'm gonna tell you, it was probably a couple of months ago, I just said, well, let me go ahead. I got $200 that I can spare to lose, right? Because I ask myself those questions before I invest in some things. How much are you comfortable with losing? If I would have said I'm not comfortable with losing $200, I would not have invested in cryptocurrency. This particular cryptocurrency went down to $150 and then back up to $150. So, but it was all over the place. I do not plan on touching it.
I know it gives me a heart attack every time I log into my accounts. You know, one day it's up, the next day it's like way down. And I just got to the point I just had to hide it. So I'm just like, I'll look back at it in 5 years. Maybe it'll be like,
don't babysit, do not and not just with cryptocurrency, that's with any of your investments. I know Monisha, she could probably say this too, because if she gets the phone calls of somebody saying, I just looked at my statement, like, we just talked about this yesterday, quit logging in every day. It's not, come on now. If you just want to see your gains that you got 46 cents or $1.28 gain, and then you lost 50 cents, fine. But to log in every day, you will have severe heart palpitations.
Yes, you will.
So yes, be mindful with the cryptocurrency. I don't discourage it, but do your research.
Do you have an opinion one way or the other on cryptocurrency, Monisha?
I agree. It's not my forte. It's just not.
Okay. So many
I do love the analogy, though. I will say that.
I do too. It was a good one.
And 22 23, 22, and 16 years old. And I will say, absolutely, that is the trend. You know, it's 1 minute, you're great, you're really nice. The next minute, you know, who knows?
So many of us who are like seasoned, more seasoned in our careers, and I've probably worked at more companies than, you know, should be good, but I move around a lot. But typically, I think that people don't understand that your 401k is a form of investing as well, right? And so you get these jobs, you sign up, you check a few boxes, you know, talk to us a little bit, Monisha, about how to understand this process of having a 401k. Now, I've made the mistake, you know, many jobs ago, I would leave a job and I just leave the 401k behind. I'm just like, you know. And now, you know, 8 or 9 different corporations in, you know, there's a lot of money kind of all strewn all over the place, like dead bugs. I was gonna say dead bodies. But anyway, like, how should we be looking at our 401ks? What should we do? Like, because it is a form of investing, right?
It is investing.
That absolutely, that is a part of your portfolio. And I liken it to, if we're leaving 401ks at old employers, that's essentially like you're leaving, you know, money on the counter at, you know, the coffee shop, and you're going to do other things out. You got to run to my car and I'm gonna leave my cash right here. And, you know, hopefully you get back and it's what you left there. Or maybe it's nobody's monitoring it for you at the end of the day. And I don't say monitoring and, you know, you're looking at it, logging in all of the time, but you need to review that at least annually to make sure that it's doing what you have for it to do. So I would encourage that if there's anyone that, and anyone that I talk with, if they have where there are old 401ks, we'll gather those statements for that particular investment. We will vet it via Morningstar is what we leverage as far as like understanding the performance of it, understanding what the client's risk tolerance is, seeing how it fits within their portfolio, and then determining whether we need to combine that into maybe a traditional IRA or something, because it is their dollars. I'll give you a real quick illustration of an old 401k that was left with an employer. I had a client, and he and his wife were 40, in their early 40s, and he left his old 401k. It's valued at roughly just under 200,000. He left his old 401k with his old employer, went to his new employer, and he left that old 401k for about 5 years. No, actually, I want to say about 10 to 12 years during our bull market run that we had. His 401k really didn't move. He was essentially invested as a 40-year-old man in a conservative portfolio, which means that his portfolio only returned maybe about 4% every year for his 401k. And that is way too little for what his timeline is. And what his timeline is for retirement, it's also way too less of a risk for him as an aggressive investor. We were able to help him understand that he shouldn't leave that there and not just become frustrated every time he saw a statement, so he could actually do something about it, because he didn't realize that he could do something about it. He didn't realize that he could reallocate the investment. He didn't realize that he could move it over into an IRA and actually have personal control over it. So we were able to educate he and his wife on that and help them to get themselves together, and you know, bring those investments over to us. And now he has control. We can manage it however he sees fit. We are able to leverage it in, you know, a variety of different ways, and got him the returns that he should receive. I'm not saying that we guarantee any returns or anything like that, but it's more on trend with the type of investor that he is.
Nice.
So someone said, shouldn't you roll over old 401ks to IRAs? Like, what should you do? What should you do when you gather all of them together?
And I think that's a conversation that you really want to have with your financial advisor, because at the end of the day, there are benefits to rolling it over into an IRA, and there are benefits with having it like in that 401k platform. Oftentimes when you know, if there's some legal issues going on, your 401ks are protected assets. Sometimes your IRAs are not. So I won't say in a general statement that you absolutely always should, that everyone should do that. I would just communicate that you definitely need to have a conversation to make sure that it's the best thing for you to do. But typically that's what we do with our clients. We'll have them, you know, meet together and we'll figure out a collective investment vehicle for them. Sometimes it's a couple of them. If you have multiple IRAs, you may have one that's a risk tolerance that's maybe a a moderate risk tolerance, and then you may
Okay.
have something that is, we'll use a hypothetical, right? Say you have, two IRAs valued at $50,000 each, okay? You bring those together, that's $100,000. You can actually invest that 100,000 into an IRA, bringing those from the old employers over through a process of rolling it over, doing a direct rollover. There's no tax consequence affiliated with that after you've opened your account with your investment provider. And as you put it into a qualified account, which is that IRA, so it's essentially going from the 401k, which is a qualified account, to another retirement account, no taxes being paid on that, then you have the ability to either leave it in one whole investment, or you can allocate it differently within that individual, with the individual that you're working with.
Someone asked, can traditional IRAs be converted to a Roth IRA in 2022?
Can we do that this year? Or are we saying like for our IRAs from 2021 be converted this year?
I'm not sure. It says,
Okay.
can traditional IRAs be converted to Roth IRAs in year 2022? And Charmaine answered yes.
So
Yes to your question.
essentially, if you have a traditional IRA and it was in that calendar year of 2021, then you have to convert by the end of the year. So your conversion, because, for tax purposes, right? Because you're going to claim that as taxable income to make that conversion. You have to pay taxes on the dollars, and then it's added to your taxable income. If you want to do that for 2022, then you would just do it for, this year.
Now, go ahead, sorry.
Can I just add for clarification too? I know Monisha mentioned with possibly leaving money in 401k. You do not necessarily have to leave it at that employer in 401k. If you are employed somewhere else and they have 401k, you can roll it over to the new 401k. And because again, it's just sitting there, it can happen, situation like her client can happen where they just revert him to being conservative. I've seen and have clients of my own in the past where they move the money to money market, which is a glorified savings account. It is not earning anything. And then you have to also consider that you can, if it's less than a certain amount, they can cash it out and send you the money. Next thing you know, you're hit with the penalty and taxes, and you're like, I just wanted my money to sit there. So if you have the honor of having your, being at another job that offers 401k, and your previous employer had a 401k, transfer it from one 401k to another 401k if you do not necessarily want to put it into an IRA. So I just wanted to have that clarification as well.
Now, here's an interesting question. Thanks, Sheila. Sheila wants to know, is there an age where it's just too late or makes no sense to start investing? I'm just going to throw that in the air. Is there an age when it's just too late or makes no sense to start investing?
I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's more so, as we talked about prior to, the capacity thing, right? Like the risk capacity. What risk capacity do we have? Are we talking about discretionary income? What do we currently have going on overall?
I agree. Do not put an age limit on investing. I've had clients call 80 years old, and she's like, I just want to invest. I'm like, okay, what earned income do you have? And it's okay. If anything, when you have traditional IRAs, that's when you really need to consider starting to take money out because you're forced to do so at a particular age. But do not feel as though you're too old to start investing. We with IRAs, you have the catch-up amount that they allow you to put more in as opposed to someone 50 years old or less. So, which is why they're encouraging you as a mature investor to go in and start putting in as much as you can. So do not feel as though it's too late to do so.
All right, so lastly, and then we'll get into some more questions. And ladies, or people who are in the group, please put your questions in chat. Deshawn, do you have a preference that it's done just in chat or?
Chat, just do chat would be great.
Okay. So Bahia, can you talk to us about Brown Girls Invest in particular, just so that this audience knows a little bit more about it, how to learn more, about joining this group of women?
So with Brown Girls Do Invest, it actually started in 2014 when I was as a financial advisor, and being on both ends, investing in the ones sitting across from those who are investing. And I started it because a couple of things. Working with my counterparts, male, Caucasian, would, oh, by here, I just brought in a $250,000 check. How much was yours? And I'm like, well, everyone in our community does not have it like that. And them not really understanding that we didn't have it like that. And they're like, well, can't you have somebody call someone in their family and write out a check so you can start investing? Like, no, we don't have it that way. And then on the other side, being an investor, feeling as though I was less than because they didn't understand our culture. They didn't understand some things that I may have gone through as a female, and especially a Black female. So with Brown Girls Do Invest, we became a 501c3 in 2016. And the vision for Brown Girls Do Invest is to teach African American women on how to invest in the stock market, how to invest in real estate, and how to acquire multiple streams of income. And there are a lot of people ask, well, why brown girls? For one, I'm a brown girl. Number two, I live by one of the African proverbs. If you teach a man, you teach one person. If you teach a woman, you teach a nation. I don't have anything against men. I've been married for 28 years. But my point is, with women, we make sure that when we are educated, we share that information across the board. So we have workshops, we have telephone discussions, we have panels, we have conferences, but of course, since pandemic, we fell back on the conferences. And everywhere we went throughout this country, we sell out on average of 500 attendees. And we talk about everything from how to get into stock market, what does it mean, and informing you of everything that you may need. And not just talking about stocks, we also mention budgeting. We talk about student loans because, again, we know that as Black women, highly educated, but the problem is we're so overwhelmed with student loans that it's like, okay, I have to pay this Naviet. So it's going to cut into me investing in the stock market. So we talk about all of that recently. And one of the reasons why I have online every month with the novice, and I do things with experienced investors as well, but with the novice who are afraid to take that leap, one of the reasons why I decided to do that every month is because last year, CNBC ran an article that said 59% of Black women do not invest in anything. 59% of Black women do not invest in anything. And when I started taking a poll within our community and asking, why is it that you do not invest in anything? Is I don't know how. I do not know where to begin. I don't know how much money I need. So with us, with Brown Girls Do Invest, we educate you on what does it mean to get into the stock market. I do have courses that are affordable for everybody, as well as because we have 60,000 members. But someone encouraged me last year to open up the private Facebook group. I'm like, okay, so now almost 2,000 just went on and got into the private Facebook group where we actually have a community where we can ask questions with each other. We're comfortable. And that's another reason why I want Brown Girls Do Invest, because we are in an environment where we are not judged by what we do not know, right? So with this, we always say, okay, every month, novice, we have a group every month that start on that says, okay, I'm ready to invest. I'm like, where's your $100? It doesn't cost anything to open it up, but I'm like, if I know that you're able to say, and it's something you mentioned $100 earlier, because I say to them, if I see that you can save $100 to put into your brokerage account, then I know you're serious. So now let's go ahead and transfer it over once we open it. And I also teach them the difference of the various platforms. And I'm going to tell you, write this down, ladies, stockbrokers.com, and that's with an S, stockbrokers.com. You go there, you can compare various brokerage account. Now, of course, we have a course on there, how to compare, which is like 2.5 hours long training. But we literally open up brokerage accounts and we talk about what ETFs. I don't back people against the wall and say, hey, what stock you want to choose, because it's individual. Let's I actually make the executive decision on which ETF, because I know they're learning how to be fundamental analysts by going in and seeing how to choose a certain brokerage platform, but you may not feel confident. So we talk about, okay, what ETF we're going to purchase for this month. How many shares are we going to purchase? Like the other day when we purchased our ETF, one of the attendees, she said she felt rich because we bought 3 shares. I mean, it was $28.88. It was
That's all
$28.88
right.
each, but it
Mhm.
was 3 shares. And then people were looking at what we've bought so far, and they're doing well. One day $1 and some change, another day 40 cents, another day $2. But it's getting people comfortable, right? And I don't just leave them there. It's not just me, although I'm the founder and executive director. We have an advisory board. We have if you're not familiar with Terry Igioma, Trade and Travel, she's part of it as well. Last year, she earned in her courses of teaching as well as trading in the stock market $10 million. We
Wow.
have we
Wow.
have people who are actually holding your hand to show you how to invest. We don't judge you. We're not pulling out our statements and saying this is how much you could have earned if you would have done it. No, it's about meeting you on your own level. And that's why Brown Girls Do Invest exists, so that we can teach you how to invest in the stock market, real estate, and acquire multiple streams of income. Because I truly believe that when we learn something, we're going to pass it along
Yeah.
to our significant others, to our children. It's leaving a legacy, right?
Yes.
It's truly leaving a legacy of wealth. And that's what Brown Girls Do Invest. So we start from 12 years young all the way up to 112 years young. And just recently, last year, I created a coloring book for the ages of 3 to 8. And it's actually on Amazon, ABCs to Invest. And it literally, for assets, B for bear market and bull market, C cash flow. So, and it has the glossary in the back. So when the parents sit down and they want to discuss what these words mean, they can. And the reason why I decided to create the coloring book for the ages 3 through 8 is because growing up, I had so many different things I did. Like my dad taught us how to cook. My mom taught us how to do change tires and oils and everything. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I would sit down with my parents and we would literally color in a coloring book. And I still have these coloring books with the date on it and our signature. So I thought that why not work together as a family and have that interaction, and starting young. Again, we didn't start young talking about investing. We didn't know. So now is a great time to plant that seed with the youth. And as they continue to learn, that's when Brown Girls Do Invest will be there. We're on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, so all social media. You'll
So,
find us.
I got a question here from Stephanie, who's a very, very, very good friend of mine, but she said that her son is in his 20s and prefers day trading. What is the difference between day trading versus long-term stock trading? What's a day trader?
Day trader is literally you in and out that day, and everybody cannot be a
Mm,
day trader because typically it's like 25,000 so that you have to
mm.
trade. So I don't know if he's literally day trading or swing trading, because there's so many different, it is basically buying options, right? So you can be a swing trader and trade throughout the day, but not as much, right? We do not, so that's short term. Day trading, swing, options, those are short term. What we do is more long term, which is why we have you sit down, write down your investment goals, your financial goals. So with the long term is a year or more. And as a matter of fact, I always tell people that, okay, we are going to hold on to something a little bit more than a year because we want to address maybe your retirement needs or what have you. But the person that you're talking about, her son, which is in his 20s doing day trading, awesome. High five to her and her son. Seriously, that is short term. And you have a lot. And that's another reason why a lot of young people are saying 2 fingers to working for somebody else, because I have figured out the game of how to sit in front of my laptop just for an hour a day and earn more in one day than I would have in 1 week. Right. And people who do not understand it, just thinking, oh, they don't want to go to work, they're being lazy, the unemployment rate is so high. They figured it out. They have figured it out. So day trading, swing trading options, that's short term. That you're getting it right then and there. But of course, some people let the money sit in their money market account. Other people just take it out right then and there. Whichever one of you going to do, you're going to pay capital gains on it anyway. So make sure you put your money to the side. And I typically say put 30%. 30% may be higher than what your tax bracket is, but hey, it's a comfortable percentage because Uncle Sam will be knocking at your door, the lady's son's door. But yeah, short term, long term difference.
Now, Monisha, if I came to you, you're my financial advisor, and I see that my portfolio has tripled in value overnight. Would you advise that I go ahead and just take it and run, or would your advice be to continue to stay in the game? Like, we all know that this is very volatile, right? So you got a situation where it's tripled and I'm looking at a whole lot of money. What would you tell me to do?
At the end of the day, it's going to go back to what was our plan, right? Like what's the origin? What's the purpose of this money, right? And if the money has done what it was supposed to do, then yeah, let's move it and let's put it in a safer spot. If it's not done what it needs to do, then, you know, let's hang on for a little bit longer. That's essentially what I'm going to go back to. Always, what was our plan? Is that still our plan? Are we still on track for that? You know, let's keep moving forward.
But here, same question. What would you recommend?
If you earn some money overnight and now you want to ball out of control and take your money and run, is that what you're asking? I just want a clarification.
Basically.
Just like the other panelists say, I would piggyback on what your goals are. I don't want you to get distracted by the shiny object there, because think about this, even if you, again, stock market up and down, it's okay to leave it there, especially if you are long term, right? Leave it there unless you had plans to say, okay, if it reached this particular dollar amount, I've already spoken with my financial advisor, or if you do it on your own, this is how much it is, take it out, but stick with your goals. Don't just look at the money and get all excited, because you have to think about this. Now you have compounding interest and everything can, compound on top of interest on top of interest. And if you take that money out, you may be doing something that's disheartening to what your future could be. So
this is
fall
like
back
the
on your
tax
goals.
this is the tax time of year. If you made a whole lot of money from the sale of stocks and bonds, is it considered, how does the government or the IRS treat gains and losses in this space, right?
Oh, they're going to track your gains, especially if again, if it's, Kim's like, oh my goodness. And let me clarify, it's realized gain, not unrealized.
Okay.
Because if you, let's say you put 100, we're going to stick with your $100. Let's say you put $100 into the stock market and it grew to $500 and you let it sit there. That is an unrealized gain. It's just sitting there, right? Now, if you say gang, I just earned $400 on top of my 100, which is now 500, of course. So now you have a $400 gain, and now you hit sale, realize now IRS is going to be like, oh, Kim, welcome to the club. Let me go ahead and send you out a form at the end of the year so you can declare this tax. If you do not, we may have to talk about setting up payments for you to pay us what you owe us. So yeah, it has to be realized. And then Uncle Sam will realize that you owe them.
Now
I'll say this, just a real quick illustration for everyone. If you have notes there, has anyone ever seen the IRS's sign? You probably have seen their sign. Basically, it says, the THE, write that down for me real quick. THE, and underneath it says IRS, right? So it's like on top of each other, the IRS, right? Because if they put it side by side, it's going to say THEIRS, which it says theirs. At the end of the day, they're going to get their portion.
I like
Okay.
that.
That's not exactly how the sign goes, but that's the illustration that I give my clients to let them know, at the end of the day, we're gonna pay taxes, right? It's just understanding what your fair share is and understanding what you're doing and the ripple effect of how you're affecting your future.
So here's another question that came in the chat room from C. Sellers. What is your professional feedback or opinion on the investment service Motley Fool? And would either of you recommend reading Barron's or Financial Times for new to some amount of experience? So one, what do you guys think of Motley Fool? I keep seeing that. I read it. I don't know whether to trust it. You know, what do you guys think about that?
Trusted. I
Trust
like
it.
it. They have the platform for the minions like myself who refuse to pay for it. So I get as much as I can until they say, and you exceeded your limit, or they block it off and I can't read the rest of the article. And then they have the part where you can actually pay for the services. I have nothing against Motley Fool. I'm going to tell you, I'm the type of person, especially being a fundamental analyst, meaning that I'm reading every article. I don't discriminate, right? Just like when people ask about politics, I'm like, I'm going to listen to everybody to make a concerted effort if you got it, my best interest at heart. So with that being said, I read Motley Fool. I don't want to be a fool and not read it, because a lot of things are right in front of us, especially when they're sharing it with the other communities. And then we're wondering, how did they find out? It was right there. And as far as Barron's and Financial Times, add that to the list of the Morning Star, CNBC, Yahoo Finance that I said. Love, love, love those articles. I have nothing against any of them. And as you're reading your material, you write down things that actually resonate with you and then follow it. Like when I said, and those are materials that you should read as you create your watch list, right?
Okay.
Like I said, if you say, well, if I had $100, what would be 5 things that I would purchase or 5 places I would patronize? And then you start Googling these products and companies and seeing what is going on with them. Rest assured, Motley Crue, Financial Times, Barron's, and the others are going to come up. And then that's part of that financial analysis that I thought I saw somebody ask on here. Well, how do you know what to do? Read those articles. That's part of that. You're reading articles, and those articles also are going to tell you about the leadership style. Like if somebody's getting fired because they embezzled something, or they're bringing someone else on because of the craft that they have. Please read those articles. I don't have anything against any of those publications.
I would agree. And just understanding that we have the same 24 hours, right? So essentially it's going to cost us, right, to subscribe to these different vehicles and make them a part of our daily regimen. And it's going to push out some other things. So it's going to be a matter of prioritizing the data and being able to research this on a regular basis so that we get to a point where it's more of a second nature and a part of who we are.
Thank you. I think I covered all of the questions in the chat room. My vision isn't as good as it could be. I'd have to really get close to the camera, but I'm going through. I think we're good to go. So ladies, please, or gentlemen, our audience, please check the chat room. There's valuable information in there with links to the HIA's websites, to Monisha's websites. There's their contact information as well. This particular recording, our webinar is being recorded, and you can also find a replay of this listed on our Facebook page, which is the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Manhattan Chapter. So if there's anything you missed, yes, Vahia, I see you.
I didn't want to disturb you because you know I talk too much. So what I was going to say is, I know that's my personal information. Brown Girls Do Invest. Please do that. And we have the private Facebook group, Brown Girls Do Invest Wealth Building. It's going to ask you your name. Instead of putting you can put your name and then put in parentheses NCBW, because that's your organization, so that I can know where you came from, because I'm very particular who I let in, because I don't want to let everybody in, because I want everyone to feel comfortable and educated as well. So on Facebook group, of course, all social media, Brown Girls Do Invest. But with the particular private Facebook group, if you type in Brown Girls Do Invest Wealth Building, Then that's when you get in and put your first name, because it's going to ask for your name. Put your name, put in parentheses, NCBW. So then I know where you came from, because I'm going to look to see who's part of our community, because I deny a lot of people.
Okay.
So yes, that's what I want to say. Thank you.
So ladies, thank you for your time. And again, a recording of this particular webinar will be available on our Facebook page. So I would like to thank Bahia, thank Monisha for their insight. I'd like to thank the audience for their great questions. I'd like to thank Thrivent Financial, which is the company that Monisha and I work for. I am an engagement leader with Thrivent and been with them for a little over 3 years now. But again, thank you everyone for your time. And I think this will end our webinar, successful webinar tonight. Thank you again. Have a good night.